Welcome to Entry Level Mums. I'm Nasra.
I'm Suya.
Welcome to our new episode, guys. Today's episode is brought to you in partnership with the Open University. So, the Open University have a campaign called Momentum, where they are aiming to empower mums and people who have caring responsibilities who would like to either change their careers or to upskill and further their education level. And we are working with them. So
In today's episode, we're going to discuss the realities of returning to work as parents. So Nasra, we'll start with you first. How was it like returning to work after you had Hannah?
when I was unemployed, I did a boot camp in tech, and it went really well. And I thought that I was changing, like I was completely pivoting my career. I'd never been in tech before, and I was looking for jobs, and it was really disheartening to just keep being told no, and all the doors just felt like they were closing. And eventually I ended up then pivoting again to a completely different career where I had volunteered with like a charity and had like fallen in love with like community work and project work, and it was just it was so like rewarding, you know? So when an opportunity arose with them, I jumped on it. And having jumped on that opportunity, it just put me in a position where I could now earn and go back to working, because I had worked pretty much my whole adult life, I'd say. It was really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
From the interview to being accepted to the anxiety of not being sure whether I was going to be told unfortunately again, you know. It was very anxiety inducing. And then when I started, it was bittersweet, because I felt like I missed spending time with my daughter, but at the same time I really did enjoy speaking to adults. I really did enjoy, you know, being able to show my personality and who I am. And like just having, you know, the adult relationships, that was very, very impactful on my mental health, especially. But I felt so much guilt. Like I felt like I was missing out on milestones. I felt like I was, bearing in mind, I did go back to work when my daughter was like, I think she was about 2.5. She was about 2.5, 3. She hadn't turned 3 yet. She was about 2.5. I felt so guilty. Like I also felt like, is she gonna be impacted by me going back to work? That was another concern I had. There's just so much to think about when you're going back to work, but when you're there and you're at work, it sort of feels like a holiday. A holiday from parenting where you're being paid, you know?
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, the panic started from when I got pregnant the first time with Jenna. I feel like when I had Adam the second time round, I didn't have that much anxiety because it was my second time doing this. But with the first, I will never forget, this was 2020 during COVID. I was made redundant, and that's when I was pregnant. So I think the first thing I did was I knew that I wasn't going to go back to work because I was already pregnant. There's no point looking for a job now. But I thought to myself, why don't I, because I've got a background in social media marketing, copywriting, journalism, all that kind of stuff. I thought to myself, why don't I promote myself on Twitter and see if I can just work freelance? Because I already knew we were in a pandemic. I'm pregnant. I thought, let me find a way to just make money. I did that. That tweet did very well. I got a few jobs from that.
Wow.
But then as my belly grew and I got heavier, I couldn't work anymore. I was feeling too tired. I didn't want to commit myself to any more tasks. So I stopped working until obviously over a year, maybe 2.5 years later, when Jenna started going to nursery. But the interviewing, when I started applying for jobs again, and I had to explain why I didn't work
What the
for
gap?
a while. Even though I was doing freelance, some of them were still saying there was still this nervousness. I still wanted to hide the fact that I had a baby. I didn't want to basically admit that I had a baby.
Really?
Because I thought that straight away they wouldn't hire me.
Okay.
I know that sounds mad, but I had one particular interview where it went so well. I think they had like 3 stages, and I wanted this job so badly. And then they gave me a good task to do where I had to design like Instagram stories. I had to design like a bunch of different things, like a newsletter. I had to write all these things. It was such a fun job, and I was like, this is the kind of job I need. I got to the final stage, and then they said no. And I think that was, for me, my last straw. I said, I'm not going to do it anymore. The job that I wanted, they gave it to someone else. And I had the family business to fall back on. And I think for me, even though working with family and dealing with the pressures of people expecting you to stay home and, you know, the culture side of things, working with my mum felt like a safety net, especially because I was in such a vulnerable position after having a kid. And I don't know, sometimes I think to myself, if my mum didn't have a business, I wouldn't know what to do.
Wow.
Because being unemployed outside of kids is hard enough. Yeah? But going through the interviewing process, going through that anxiety where after you have a kid, you know, we talked about losing your identity. You don't know who you are anymore. Yeah. I felt like I lost brain cells. I forgot what my profession, I forgot what marketing was. I felt like I couldn't, I had to go back to school again. I can't explain it. I felt like I lost brain cells. So it's that process of like reclaiming your identity by going back to work. But like at the same time, you're feeling guilty because you just had a baby. Yeah. It's a whirlwind of emotions that you can't really articulate. And also, small, you're still sleep deprived. Yes. And you're thinking, how am I supposed to wake up after I've been up all night? How am I supposed to now go to work? Yes. Did you ask yourself, Nas, I'm going to ask you a question. Did you ever ask yourself, how did other mums do this?
Yes.
How did other mums deal with kids and go to work at the same time?
Yes. Because the thing is, with the colleagues that didn't have children, they were able to go to work, finish their job, and then, you know, go away for the weekend, or, you know, they just had so much time. They could go out for like work drinks, you know, work, like go out to do team building exercises after work and all of those things. But my job didn't end there. I would finish my shift, and now I'm going home to be a mum but I was very lucky because my mum would do the pickup from school, so I didn't have to be stressed and think about who's going to get my kid from school, how am I going to manage this. And I think for me that was the rudest awakening, going back to work. It was managing to work and then pickups and drop-offs. That was the rudest awakening, because I feel like the only reason I went and did that job was because I felt like they were removing the barrier to employment for mums. But then when I got in the job, I realised, oh, actually, it's still a business and it still needs to run. And I'm just a small clog in this, like, really big machine. And so pickups, when my mum wasn't around, it almost felt like I had to beg in a way. And that bit was... that messed with me a little bit, because it felt like the understanding levels just went out the window with the employer, and it just felt like me having this child. I hate to use the word burden, but like it felt like this was my burden to bear, but nobody else was being understanding. Yeah. And it's something so small like pickups, right? So now I had to go and do some brainstorming of my own and come with proposals, like if I work less hours and finish at like 3:00 so that I can go pick my kid up so that I can be a mum, can I make up those hours on, let's say, my day off, or like on this day, or on that day, or I'll have to find childcare that day. And so many times I had to lean on friends and family who lived around the area to be able to facilitate going to work and making up those hours. Like it was a rude awakening going back to work.
It's not easy.
It's not, especially as a single mom. Like, I mean, it would be different for people who are married or who are in relationships because they could always leave them with their partner. But then what happens if both people work?
And more time, the husband is working, right? The dad is working. 100% of the time is the dad leaving the house. And so if you have a working mum, it's not even she gets up, she gets ready, she does her makeup, or she brushes her, takes a shower, whatever it is. You're waking up extra early to prepare the kids for school whilst you're getting ready for work.
Yes.
Listen, you're knocked out by 8 a.m. You're already tired. Your day is done by 8 o'clock, but then you're already on your way to work.
Girl, by the time I have done school run, I'm like, I need 4 coffees. I need to have like 4 coffees.
School runs are not like...
There would be days where my kid would just be like, I'm not going to school. And like she refused to put her shoes on. And I'm like arguing with a toddler first thing in the morning. Because now I'm stressed. I'm like, I have to make it on time to work. How many times are you going to say, I'm sorry I'm late. Like my kid had a tantrum this morning. I'm sorry I'm late. Like eventually you kind of feel like they're thinking that, not her again, using her kid as an excuse for her lateness, you know? I don't know.
The craziest thing
you overthink it.
Yeah, the craziest thing is, how many women have had kids before us?
Millions and millions and millions.
But yet, I'm sure there's a lot of mums who start work and they feel like they're alone in this struggle. Like they feel like, oh, damn, the fact that I'm a mum, I'm scared of losing my job because I want to leave early, or my kid is sick, or, you know, like...
What happens when your kid is sick? What happens when you have to go to A&E in the middle of the night and you have to call in, you know, they say, oh, call in if you're going to be sick the night before, or give us time to, like, you know, find somebody to replace you. What if your child is sick at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Exactly. These kids are not scheduling
you know what I'm saying?
Their sicknesses.
Business hours.
There's no business hours for sickness. I mean, anything can happen with these kids. Like, how many times has my child been okay in the morning and by evening they've got fevers and they're coughing up a lung, and it happens so often. And these kids, obviously, they're spreading all these like illnesses from nursery and whatnot. So being a working parent whilst having kids, it's not for the weak. But at the same time,
it's so rewarding.
At the same time, and the thing is, every mother is different, right? And if you want to be a stay-at-home mum, that's completely fine, because still being a stay-at-home mum, you're still working in the home. But I personally just prefer working. I know it's hard, but I still want to be doing something with my time outside of just being at home and doing household chores and raising the kids at home. I kind of want to just stimulate my mind with other things.
You know, for me, the hardest part was the lack of sleep. If we had more hours in the day, I think I'd be fine. Yeah. But there's only 24 hours in a day. So once you spent 8 hours at work and then an additional, let's say you finish at 4 o'clock, your child's bedtime is by like 7:30, 8 o'clock, or 7, let's say, that's another additional 3 hours. Then when do you have time for yourself to like wind down and like prepare your stuff for tomorrow, or like do things to just relax? You're in go mode all day. You have to be able to shut down, right? Everybody wants to doom scroll. Everybody wants to like find their relaxation and their comfort time. By the time you do that, it's 10 p.m. and then you have to be up tomorrow at 7 or 6, you know? It's not for the faint-hearted, genuinely, but the reward that I feel from being at work and getting to at least just be Nazra. Yeah. Like, I'm not Hannah's mum at work. I'm Nazra. I'm me. And people know me for who I am and my personality, and just talking to adults and problem solving and like laughing, like finding things, you know, to do. And it's for me, working, I like it. But
you get breaks.
Yes.
You get to eat in peace. You get to go to the toilet in peace.
You get to go to the toilet alone. That's a big one.
Literally, like, yeah, that's how I feel as well.
Mm.
Like, the way my day looks now, like day to day, Monday to Friday. By Friday, Nasra, I am on the verge of burnout, and then I do it all over again
Wow.
on Monday.
Your
It's not
day-to-days are a
easy.
lot.
Yeah,
And you have 2 kids.
it's not easy, man. Jenna gets dropped off, and then Adam has a childminder, and then I go to the office, and then in the evenings I do a couple of more hours working with a client. I take her out and stuff. Then I come home 7:30,
Wow.
and
Then you have to do bedtime.
then you listen.
And
As
then
soon
after
as we come,
bedtime.
I don't waste time. As soon as we come home, preparing for them for bed, because the quicker they get to bed, the better it is for everyone. And by the time we get home between 7 and 8, that's their bedtime. That's like they have to be in bed.
I would really miss my kids. How does that affect you as a mom?
I think I'm okay, to be honest. Only because sometimes Jenna would, because she's not in full-time school yet. Yeah, she doesn't start reception until this September. So there are days where she spends time with us in the office, because I work with my mum. Once again, flexibility, which I'm very privileged to say, because not everyone has a family business that they can just fall back on. So it's definitely helping me. But sometimes she spends time in the office. Sometimes I've got my in-laws looking after her, because she only goes to nursery like 3 days a week, 4 days a week. Adam's got a childminder, but for the first 10, he's 1 now, but for the first 9-10 months of his life, he was in the office with me. So I used to bring my son and literally put him on a little chair. This is when he was able to sit up. And he would be sitting on the chair on top of my desk, and I'd be working, and he would be literally chilling next to me. And that was the hardest time, because I was balancing his feed times, his nap times, changing his nappy, burping him, doing all of this, whilst I am also doing care plans and assessing clients and invoicing
and admin,
doing all this stuff for my mom. And my mom's agency is an intense job. You're caring for other vulnerable people. Wow. So I felt like I was just doing so many things at once, and I used to get really overstimulated and frustrated. And I used to think to myself, wait, this is not really normal, because normally when women go back to work after having babies, the baby is not there. you know, like I had this like light bulb moment where I was like, I can actually take him to a childminder. Why is he? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So once he reached about 10 months, we found like a family friend, someone that we trusted.
That's good.
I didn't want to take him to a nursery. I thought he was too young. But we found someone who, she was qualified. She had her like registration number, everything. She was like a legit childminder. And by the time he was about 10, 11 months, I shipped him off to her. And now I am in the office and I'm 100% locked in. And I'm working like a normal person.
Wow. So
it took me almost a year for me to think to myself, wait a minute, I have free will. Why is he on my desk? I can take him to a childminder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, but it's just, it's hard because you have so many people's opinions as well. Like so many people are saying to me, why are you and your baby in the office? You should be at home. You know? And then you have other people that are like, good for you, Suia. You're doing very well. You're just like your mum, because my mum was a working mum.
Yeah.
So many conflicting opinions. And it was just being a mum and navigating life as well.
Yeah.
It's really hard, man.
It is.
Every day I feel like I'm fighting for my life or defending my name. Defending why I'm doing certain things and why I'm making certain choices.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. It's not easy for the stay-at-home mums, and it's not easy for the working mums.
I have a question. I personally can't relate, but childcare costs. Please tell me about childcare costs. How bad is bad?
So, yeah, listen. Why do you think Adam has a childminder? I'm trying something different. second time round. First time round, I didn't know any better. She was my first daughter. But, so you know how once they turn 2, you get the 15 hours free?
Free, yeah.
I decided, like the smart woman I am, that's sarcasm, I decided to take Jenna to nursery and sign her up before she turned 2. Like, I wasn't aware of the whole, once they hit 2, they get 3 hours. I was like, oh, let's just sign her up to a nursery. And my mum was kind of like encouraging me to do that because, as you all know, like the PPD was really bad with Jenna. I think my mum wanted me to just let her go to nursery so that I can kind of focus on myself and kind of get back into work. I think she was trying to do it for my own benefit. But we signed her up for nursery, and she was, 1.5? Like, I had a good 6 months left until she hit 2. So the first 6 months before she hit 2, we were paying over £1,000. And she wasn't even doing Monday to Friday. She was doing Wednesday to Friday. She was doing 3 days. And we were paying over £1,000.
What are they called? They call that the motherhood penalty, don't they? Wow.
So now you're thinking to yourself, should I continue going to work if most of my paycheck is just going to go to the nursery? Now you're thinking, is it even worth it? Should I just stay at home?
Worth it,
but then at the same time, you don't want to stay at home.
For your own mental health.
Do you know what I mean? So I had
it's like you're being penalised for wanting to have good mental health.
It felt like I was taking L's every dish. Like, when I stayed at home, I got depressed. I go to work and the childcare fees.
You can't even enjoy your money.
So, like, I was in a predicament where I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a struggle. And then once she hit 2,
15 hours free.
We had to get the code and all that stuff. 15 hours free, and it went down a little bit. It went under £1,000.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Had you have known about the 12 months, the 15 hours free when they hit 24 months, would you have stayed for that 6 months at home and sacrificed your mental health? Or would you, in hindsight, have still paid the over £1,000 for her childcare costs?
You know what? The state of my mental health, Nasra, I never used to leave the house. And I think my mum telling me to put Jenna into the nursery was because she knew that I was not doing well mentally. I don't think my mum and my sister would have even allowed it. They wanted Jenna to be off my hands for a bit, just so that I can slowly get back into work. And that's when I got my car as well. And once I got my new car, that's when I started going out more. Genuinely, once she started going to nursery, I felt okay.
Wow.
I felt okay. And I'm not saying that my daughter was making me feel miserable. That's not the case. It was kind of like I had time to do things for myself.
Yeah.
Right? So before I actually started working with my mum, once she was in nursery, I used to just go out and maybe take a walk or go and get my nails done or go to the hairdresser, and it's like I'm baby free. Like, there was this weird feeling of, I feel bad that she's in nursery, but at the same time I'm slowly finding Suia again. I'm slowly like reclaiming my identity. And then you have this excitement of going to work and making money and this is that. So going back to your question of like, would I have waited 6 months? Nah, the way my mental state was going, it was rapidly declining.
That was worth the £1,000.
But then again, maybe I wouldn't have, if I had known, maybe I would have considered babysitters.
Okay.
You know, or someone to come to the house and look after. Do you know what I mean?
Or a childminder.
Maybe I would have checked a different like route instead of going straight to the nursery.
Okay.
But it's not for the weak, you know. And now I understand my mum so much more, because my mum was always a working parent, and it used to make so much sense when we were in primary school. My mum would have all of her friends come, like every other week. It'd be a different auntie saying, "Hey, you guys are coming with us," you know. And we go to different people's homes. Like all my mum's friends would take me and my siblings to their house, and I always used to be like, oh my God, is it every day going to someone's house? Like I used to literally think that as a kid. I used to be like, oh, I just want to go to my own house for once. But now I'm just like, yeah, both my parents were working.
It was for your mum as
they
well.
and my mum was probably calling people up. Like this is things that we don't see.
Yeah.
My mum was probably calling her friends up saying, "Can you guys pick up my kids, please?" And she was working as a nurse. Like, it's a very intense job. She was probably held up at the hospital or whatnot, and she probably had to call her friends last minute to say, "Oh my God, guys, please pick up the kids from school." You know, there's a lot of struggles that go on that no one really talks about, and
it's the invisible part of motherhood, isn't it? Yeah. Like, my mum went through the same thing because she also raised me alone, and she was a single parent, and while she was studying, she literally had to commute from where her college was to come and pick me up from school. And sometimes traffic, sometimes there was road accidents, sometimes like anything could happen, right? Sometimes the bus would break down like on the way, and she would be so stressed trying to pick me up from school, and she didn't have help. So she would call other mums that were in the school who lived in the area, and sometimes I would be waiting for my mum to come and pick me up, and then the teacher would be like, hey, come on, Nasra, you're gonna go with so and so's mum today. And I remember thinking, oh, but I want to go with my mum. Yeah. But now I'm looking at it from her shoes, you know, because I was also in that situation where I had to figure out who was going to pick my kid up from school. And looking at it from her shoes, I'm like, wow, like the amount of stress that she must have been under, the amount of like guilt that she must have felt, and the amount of like pressure that must have been on her. Yeah. I feel like giving her a hug and saying thank you, you know?
No, for real. It's only when you become a mum, that's when you truly understand. And
like you said, when people have like opinions and, you know, cultural norms and like cultural taboos, and like when everybody has their own version of what you should be doing, or someone will say to you, oh, you're doing great, independence, well done, be independent, make time for yourself. And then someone else will come along and be like, oh, but you're making time for yourself, but your kid's gonna suffer. You know, that whole element of it. How do we navigate those conversations? Like, what do you even say to those people?
I don't know, man. I feel like whatever you say, you can't make everyone happy. There's nothing that you can say that will make anyone happy. Some people might agree with you, but then you have people who are like, nope, this is the right way to do it. Like, there's never really the right way. I feel like every mom, whatever she decides to do with her life, if that's what she wants to do, if she wants to stay at home and raise her kids, she can do that. If she wants to work and raise her kids, she can do that.
If she wants to get a degree and study and, you know, get a master's. Yeah. Like, there's so many mums who are in education. We know mums who've had degrees carrying their baby, and they've got the cap and gown on, and they've got like a picture of them with their degree with their baby. There's so many mums, because when you're in that moment of like, okay, I have this life that depends on me, I have this child whose future depends on me, what do I want to do to give them the best that I can? And for some women and some caregivers and some mums, like, their way of like giving the best to their child is to have the best education, is to be in a position where they can get like a job that is well paying and chase their career and give their child maybe everything they didn't have, you know, and or to create some sort of like generational wealth or like knowledge, or like, you know, just to put them in a different place that they were raised in.
Yeah, a lot of people, their kids inspire them. It's like as soon as they become parents, they're like, I have to be successful, I have to do better, you know.
We have a friend who just graduated from uni, didn't we?
Yeah.
We have a friend who just graduated from university, and she is incredible. Yeah. I would consider myself as a very bubbly person, somebody who's very outgoing, who's very vocal, somebody who's very loud. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't say loud, I'd say loud when I'm excited, you know, loud when something is like passionate, something I find passion in, right? I can be like very fun and loud. But after having Hannah, after having my daughter, I felt like I lost all of my social skills. I felt like I lost all of my like confidence. I felt like identity crisis was on 100. I felt like I just did not know who I was. And then going through a breakup and then a divorce and then going through like all of the big life changes, moving house, moving city, I felt like I really lost my confidence. It's only when I realized, okay, I'm neurodivergent. How do I look beyond the confusion and the sadness to like regain my confidence? How do I go past it? Like, I felt like I was stuck, like I was behind like a wall, and who I was behind the other wall, and who I am now is just trapped. And I didn't know how to navigate that. It was a very scary time. And people always ask me, like throughout my whole life, they always ask me, how are you so confident? How are you so... And I never thought about it before. I never thought I was confident. In my head, I was just being me. I didn't really consider that other people were not really like me, or that they saw something in me that I couldn't see myself. It's only when I lost it and I really noticed that it was gone that I was like, whoa, where did my confidence go?
You don't know what you got until...
You don't know what you got
until it's gone.
I was like, what is happening? There were moments where I wanted to say something or be vocal, but like, I just didn't. And then I would go back home that day and be like, you should have said that. Why didn't you say that? Why didn't you feel like confident enough to say that? Like, why did you like censor yourself, you know? You really don't know what you got until it's gone. And I've had to work so hard to build it back. I've had to work so hard.
How did you do it?
First of all, I understood ADHD. I understood my neurodivergence. I started to understand like how it was affecting my brain and my dopamine levels, and understanding my frontal lobe, that's the one, and the prefrontal cortex, and all of like the bits of your brain that are not stimulated when you have ADHD. Also getting diagnosed. I got diagnosed. That one was a big moment for me. All of those things, and also going back to work, just throwing myself in the deep end and just being in that environment. The first, I would say, 6 months of me working there, I would say I was very, I wouldn't say shy, but I would say a bit more reserved, a bit more timid than I usually am. Only because I was also trying to understand the system at that workplace, and I was also trying to like get my feet in and understand everyone and everything. And also, I went from being a mum with a toddler to now overstimulated with so many adults. I went from only speaking to a 2-year-old to speaking to 20 people at the same time, you know? So it got very overwhelming, but I've genuinely had to work on my confidence. I've had to work on the rejection sensitive dysphoria that comes with ADHD and feeling very attacked when someone says no to me. I think that was what knocked my confidence even more. It's when I was applying for all those jobs and everybody was just slamming the door in my face, you know?
It's the worst.
The rejection hit 100. Like, it was so bad. That one, like, made my confidence even worse.
I think that's why I am not planning to work anywhere else except with my mum, because a part of me doesn't want to go back to job hunting and interviewing, and I'll be quite honest, I feel like working with my family gives me that flexibility. I don't think I'm going to feel it until I actually leave my mum's business.
Yeah.
But because that was my shelter for the last 4 years. And before that, while I was pregnant, I was doing freelance work. It wasn't face to face.
Yeah.
I was just doing work from my laptop. I haven't worked in an office since 2020, like outside of my mum's office. I haven't worked in any other office really. So I feel like reality will hit me really hard once I decide to work somewhere else. Maybe that's why I'm sticking around for longer than I need to. Do you know what I mean?
To be fair, if you did go and work elsewhere and you experienced like the lack of flexibility, or you experienced somebody, you know,
It would rock.
your kid is sick again. You know, they don't
Oh
say
my-
it. They don't say
listen.
it like that, but like you feel it, like you
Oh
feel the vibe.
my- Like, do you know how kids work? Like, of course they're sick again. They're all spreading the germs.
You'll feel like, why am I here? I don't have to be here.
Whereas right now,
Mm.
I call my boss, who is my mum, and I say, Hoya, Adam's sick. He's coming to the office today. He's coming with me.
Yeah.
Or I'll call her and say, I'm going to stay back because Adam is sick. And because she is the grandma, she's like, oh, my baby's sick. She'll come and drop medicine. I mean, who can say
There's
that
like
their
a
manager?
level of compassion, isn't it?
There's another level of compassion and comfort
Yeah,
to know that you work with family. But there's also cons
of course.
when you work with family. You know, it's not always easy. I still get comments from people, you know, about what I'm doing. You know, it's not easy being a working parent, but it looks like I'm following the path that my mum took, because my mum was also working and raising 4 kids. So if she can do it, then I can do it, you know.
Do you have any advice for anyone who may feel like they're ready to go back into the workplace, but they're just unsure?
Maybe you can start. Because you said that you went in deep end.
Yeah.
Me, I would advise the opposite. I would say if you're really anxious, I
Staggered
would say
start?
start part-time,
Okay.
or maybe start working 1 or 2 days, or maybe start working remote and just work from home on your laptop. You know, find out what works for you and then go from there. And then before you know it, you'll be comfortable working full-time. Because I started working just 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and then eventually I said I want to do full-time. So I took it in baby steps a little bit.
You know what I would tell them? I would say, if you feel like you're ready and you want to go back to work, do it.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because I feel like as mums, or even just as women, like, we're not told enough that you have autonomy. If you don't like it, quit. Like, you can always just go back. Like, it's not like you're making a permanent decision. If you go there, you like it, stay. If you don't like it, you can always look for another job. And if you don't feel like, if you feel like you went in too soon and you're not ready, you can always go back. You can go backwards. It's your choice. You have full autonomy. If you then go back to work and you realize, oh, actually, maybe I would benefit from going back to school, or maybe I'd benefit from going back to uni, or maybe I'd benefit from trying a different thing or a different course, or completely shift like your trajectory, do it. You won't know until you start. That's the main thing. You won't know until you start, and also you won't know until you're in it. Nothing is easy. Staying at home is not easy. Going to work is not easy. Like, being part-time is not easy.
Yep.
Being remote is not easy. Working from home is not easy. Studying is not easy.
It's not easy.
Nothing is easy.
You know, like, it's...
You just have to find what works for you, right?
You have to find what works for you, and it's not easy. So that's why me and Nasla are very passionate about just doing what feels right for you.
Yeah.
Like, I've stayed at home and I've worked. Both sides is not easy. If you told me to pick which side I want more, it would probably be the career route, because then at least I am furthering my career or stimulating my brain in a different way, or talking to adults. There's perks, but there's also hardships that come with that as well. So yeah, whatever you feel is best.
I think for interview tips, if you're somebody who's a mum or neurodivergent, you don't have to disclose that in the interview. Like, I had a problem with that because I felt like if I didn't tell them I had ADHD, that I was lying, when that's not the case. I also felt like if you're going to hire me, you know how people want to be accepted wholly for who they are. I also felt like if you don't want me with my ADHD, then I don't want you back. That, I don't know, I had that mentality when it came towards like interviewing and going for a job. But then I had a conversation with somebody and it completely shifted that. I spoke to an ADHD coach and she basically told me that you don't have to disclose any neurodivergence, whether you're diagnosed or not diagnosed. at the interview stage, you don't have to tell them at all if you don't want to. And furthermore, at the interview stage, you don't have to disclose whether you have a child or whether you're a mum, and they're not allowed to ask you. It's if you choose to, that's up to you, that's your choice. But you don't have to, and it's not lying, it's not dishonest. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to be totally honest, because they're not allowed to ask.
At the same time, though, we're women. It's a natural thing for women to go through, to have kids, right?
Yeah.
To bear children, to raise children is such a natural thing. I don't know why women still have the whole anxiety of disclosing whether they have kids or not.
Because I feel like people are biased in the interview stage.
Because they know that most women have kids. Like,
Yeah.
not majority, but you know what I mean? Like,
but it also kind of feels like they don't want to hire you because
exactly.
they can't tell you that because that's illegal. That's discrimination, right?
But they know that your kids come first.
Exactly.
Priority.
So they know that they can hire you, but you're never going to be her first priority. The workplace should never be anybody's first priority, to be honest. But they feel as though they're already at a disadvantage by hiring you. Do you know what I mean?
Your time might be limited.
Or you're
going
gonna
to be as
ask.
flexible.
You're gonna ask for flexibility. You're gonna ask for a lot more. They have to accommodate you. Like that. Why do we get penalized for bearing children?
Just for having kids. Man.
I feel like the society
really
penalizes us.
Huge penalty. You're getting penalized in the workplace, and then childcare fees punches you from this side. Oh my God.
Because as well, if you think about it, there's a lot of people that say, oh, why don't you get a job and work? You're just at home on benefits, right? And then you get a job on the other hand, and then they're like, oh, why do you want so many personal days off? Or why are you always in a crisis or in an emergency with your children? Oh, why is your kid always sick? Like, why are you always late? Like, all of those things. There's no understanding. So if you don't want us to be at home and on taxpayers' money, make the workplace more comfortable, more inclusive, more understanding. Make it more accessible for mums. Because I don't know if you realise this, Suya, and I know you did because you've experienced it firsthand, but when you're a mum, you are like 50 times more productive than other people. You're like 20 times more focused than other people.
You can multitask very easily.
There are mums who have children who run businesses. Yeah. There are mums who have children who get degrees and masters and PhDs. There are mums who are doing everything. Like, I know it's not glamorizing. It's not sexy to be doing it all, or to have to be splitting yourself in so many different directions. But if you're already multitasking every single day, it's not that hard to add one more thing to your. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not that hard.
Exactly. And as much as it's tiring, especially in the mornings when you're getting them both ready to leave the house, it does feel rewarding when you come home to think, I've had a productive day.
Yeah.
And I made it back home in one piece, and the kids are in bed. Now I can put my feet up. It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling to also know that you're getting a paycheck at the end of the month. You feel like you've worked hard for your money. It's well earned,
Yeah.
So, it's very conflicting, but it's rewarding at the same time.
It's so rewarding. Honestly, it is. Knowing that you've earned this money. When you get paid at the end of the month and you're like, wow, I sweated for that. I really earned that. It's such a beautiful feeling. But going back to when I said that about it being more accessible, and if employers would actually take into account that women who are parents and who have neurodivergence are usually more productive than neurotypicals and people who don't have children, there should be things out there that help you, like the Open University's Toolkit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the Toolkit, for example, if we had things like that, we've had a look at the Toolkit and it is a wealth of resources. It's brilliant. And if there were things like that to help mums and caregivers on their journey, whether they want to go back to university, whether they want to go do a short course and upskill and regain that confidence so that they don't feel the imposter syndrome when they go back to work, or whether they want to straight up work full-time or part-time, if there were things in place like that toolkit where it would help us to regain that confidence and to feel as if the brain cells are coming back.
Yeah.
I think stuff like that are amazing. I feel like we should really champion them more.
Definitely. And I like how in the toolkit you can literally see your rights as well.
Yes.
Especially when you go back to work. Your rights when it comes to maternity leave, paternity leave, all these things, discrimination, if you ever get discriminated against because you're pregnant or you've got kids, anything like that, it shows you exactly what to do about it as well, and who to complain to, who to talk to whilst you're fighting this. Every conversation you have, make sure you've written it down, taken notes, keeping the receipts, basically.
Yes.
All these little gems that you probably didn't know before would be really helpful, especially for those who are feeling anxious. Like, having a toolkit could actually make them feel more like at ease and more confident about going back to work. And
or even for people like me who are neurodiverse, right? Like, for us, when you're stuck in that moment of like, I feel like I'm being discriminated against, or I feel like this issue in this workplace is affecting me, your brain can just shut down. You can go into shutdown mode of like, I'm preserving my energy because this is taking a lot of my energy. Your brain just shuts down. And having something like that toolkit where it outlines and explains to you, if you feel like this, you should do this.
yeah,
It can like open you back up and be like, okay, I'm no longer in shutdown mode. I know what to do. You feel empowered. And empowering someone in that way who's neurodiverse, who's going through that situation, it's life-changing. It's actually priceless, genuinely. So when I had a look at the Return to Work Toolkit from the Open University, there was a part on there that I really liked. It was about it listed all of these organizations that could support parents and women who could be going through anything, from like charities, baby loss support, charities that help with that, mental health support. There was so many different organizations, and looking through it, like, there was so many organizations that we follow, but there was also some that we don't follow. And I feel like it's such a good resource. And the fact that it's free and somebody compiled all of this information and put it in one place.
I really wish I had this when I was struggling, because it touches on understanding childcare fees, like what to know, like in terms of like all the planning that you need to do before you start working. And if you can't afford it, then it talks about creating like a support network. So many things. It talks about breastfeeding.
Wow.
Whilst you're at work.
It talks about your rights is the most important thing. Because do you remember when me and you went through traumatic birth, and we had no idea that you could complain within like a 10-year, you have 10 years to like file a complaint. Was it 20 years or 10 years? I can't remember, but it's a lot of time.
I think it's 25.
It's a lot of time. Not everyone knows that. So when people put these like so valuable bits of information in one place and then just gives it out for free, it's so heartwarming. It makes me feel like there are people out there that care about mums and parents and caregivers.
100%. And honestly, it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. Like, motherhood is extremely hard for those staying at home and for those working.
And for those studying.
Like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of just so many emotions all rolled into one. But at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. And
they're doing amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like mums we don't give ourselves enough credit. Like,
even if you are at home, how much work are you doing at home?
You've actually kept these children
alive,
safe, happy, fed, clothed, with a roof over their head.
You're running on empty most of the time, and you're still getting the job done.
With love
and compassion.
There's no other job like this. This is the best job in the world.
It's the most rewarding job. It's the best job. And if you're going to now look for another job on top of that,
or you're gonna do a course, or you want to upskill,
Imagine how amazing are women. Like, the amount of stuff we're actually multitasking is crazy.
The thing that the small people that you're working for, really, essentially, we work for them, essentially. Those small people that you're working for, they then, like, inspire you to go out and, like, do better for yourself. Because when I was growing up, like, you could tell me, oh yeah, you should go back to university, or you should go to university and you should get a degree, and then you should do a master's, and then you should, go really, like, hard and fast into your career. I would have just been like, yeah, all right, everybody does that, all right, cool, innit? But now that I have this child who maybe later on I might give them options and say, hey, you're in sixth form. If you want to go to uni, you can. I also want to be able to say, I did it and this is my experience. It might not be for me, but I tried, right? And I also would love to be able to say, hey, I did it and it was for me and I loved it. But two sides of a coin, right? You won't know until you try.
You won't know until
the same with working. You won't know until you try.
Yeah. And we just want to say a big shout out to mums, whether you are at home or working. We're all amazing. Like, the work that we're doing every day for these kids. Like, give yourself a pat on the back. Yeah?
Give yourself a pat on the back. So yeah, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
What does success look like for you now?
Success for me would be financial stability.
Okay.
And not having to worry about nursery fees. I feel like once both kids are in primary school and they're thriving, and I'm in a much better financial situation where I feel comfortable and I don't have to worry about the childcare fees and all of that stuff. I think that's success to me. I think success to me is deeper than childcare fees. It's seeing my kids thriving and I'm thriving as well. I think that to me is success. I can't lie.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think for me, success also, it definitely does include financial stability. But I feel like for me, success would be being in a privileged position where I'm able to do something that I absolutely love for a living. Something that is profitable, but is something that I highly enjoy. That for me would be success. Also, good health, good family life with my kid, like me and her being solid, like her thriving at school, her enjoying education. I think because I didn't really enjoy education for a lot of my life, the fact that she loves learning makes me really happy. And now being in a position where I understand neurodivergence, if she is also neurodiverse, I'm in such a good position to be able to help her and to be able to propel her and to be able to find ways around her challenges and just to be that support system for her. So for me, success looks like me being in a good place financially, my kid thriving as well, and also doing a job that I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
That I wake up every day and I'm like, I am knackered, but I want to go to work.
Yeah.
You know, when you wake up, you're like, I'm so tired and I have to go to work. I don't want to feel like that in the morning. I want to be like, I'm on zero. I'm running on negative at this moment in time, but I can't wait to get to work. I can't wait to do this project, or I can't wait to create this thing, because I'm a creative. So I can't wait to make this or do this or film that, or, you know, that's what I think success would look like for me.
Something that you're passionate about.
Very much so.
And something that where you can literally see the impact that it's got on other people, because you said that you like working with the community and stuff. And yeah, I think that's really beautiful. Definitely just thriving, me and the kids, all of us thriving. That to me is success. And I cannot wait until both of them are in school, so I don't have to pay childcare fees anymore.
Childcare fees are a nightmare. I waited until she went to the 2-year-old.
See, I had
the 15 hours.
I don't know why I rushed it so much. I should have just waited until she was 2.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. That 2 years that I was waiting, I was in the gutter.
Yeah.
I was swimming with the fishes. I was in the absolute trenches. That 2 years was so hard. But then, to be fair, I volunteered. So I was volunteering once a week for like a year. And that once a week volunteering, it was like for like 3 hours once a week, every Wednesday for like a year. That volunteering, I feel like that was the preparation for getting into work for me. Because that volunteering, it was like a break for my mental health.
And it eased you into it as
well.
well.
My God, it literally eased me into it.
Yeah.
I got to know the people. I got to know the community. I felt comfortable. Yeah. I felt my confidence start to grow and come back. I started to, you know, remove myself from that side of the wall and go back to the old me. Yeah. Like it was a very, very pivotal moment for me. It was transformative, honestly.
Yeah. So maybe that's even a good shout, you know, start volunteering.
You know, I tell mums all the time, right? Why don't you just go to your local community centre? Just check it out. You might go in there, you might make a friend, you might come back next week. You might then end up being there every week. That's what happened to me. I went there to sign my kid up for school. It just so happened that the community centre had a nursery. And that's where I went to sign my kid up for school. And they were like, oh, why don't you come in? Check it out. And I went in and I checked it out. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you guys did this. And they were like, come back next week. And I was like, okay. Next week I was in the trenches. I was like, okay, I'm going to come back. Let me go downstairs, you know? Yeah. So I went, let me get out of the house. It got me out of the house. It got me walking. It got me talking to people. It got me...
Baby steps, man.
Woo, baby steps. It removed me from that trench. Yeah. And it was so beautiful. And I meditated. Meditation helped. Like, there were so many things that contributed to bringing my confidence back. So many things.
But, guys... We're going to have to wrap up. But let us know in the comments what success looks like to you. Share your thoughts on returning to work. How that was like, your reality and childcare fees. Yes. We would love to know it all. So share your thoughts below.
We also want to know, did you go back to uni? Did you go back to college? Did you study after you had a baby or when you were pregnant? Like, we want to know all these things because we want to go in the comments and praise you. Tell you how incredible you are. And tell you how inspirational we feel you are.
And if you ever have any doubts or if you need any advice or anything like that, talk to people. Talk to other mums. Talk to working mums, people you look up to. Create your own village. Yes. You know, like...
Community is so important.
Yeah. And of course, if you want to, like, further your education, you want to, you know, take a new career path, or you're feeling inspired, you want to do something, you know, do something crazy in your life or whatever it is, you can study from home while you're raising your kids. Check out the Open University. Check out their toolkits. Yes. They have so many courses that you guys can check out.
That toolkit is very, very, very helpful and it's free. Check it out. Because they got you, honestly. I love it when organizations actually care about... I wouldn't say we're the minority. Mums, I wouldn't say are minorities in... like the working in the working life. Are we minorities? No. I don't know, but it feels like we're minorities because you feel so alone in it, you know?
I don't even know if it's
the percentages of women who work compared to men who work, and then the percentage of, because I don't know,
I don't even know what we call mums in the workspace.
Yeah,
I know what you mean by minority.
Do you know what I mean?
It feels like we're at a disadvantage as well,
and we're outnumbered.
Yeah. Like, it's just, I don't even know what to call it, but we're definitely getting penalised no matter what we choose to do, either with our mental health or with our pockets.
100%.
Yeah, but
this has been such a nice episode.
It was.
It's nice to talk about, like, your experiences with stuff like this, because you made me really, like, look back at that time and working full-time and then being a full-time parent and being the primary caregiver. It was a time. I don't work full-time anymore now, but it was very interesting. I did it for a year and a half and I was very tired. Very tired.
Yeah, it's extremely tiring. and so rewarding at the same time.
You know, the first few times that my kid cried when I said I'm going to work, eventually she was like, oh, you're going to go to work now? See you later, mommy.
Yeah.
It gets better.
Eventually they look at you and they say, bye. You know? And everyone goes on their day. Like,
It
everyone
gets better.
Yeah, it gets better. So if you ever want to pivot your career or like further your education, like you can always check out Open University.
And if you want to talk to us, we're here.
Thank you for listening, guys. Bye.